In 1966, a constitutional commission was chaired by the then Chief Justice Wee Chong-jin, and it recommended the formation of the PCMR, which was established in 1970. Its role is to scrutinize bills passed by Parliament for any differentiating measures that discriminate against any racial or religious community, and if so found, to refer the bill back to Parliament for reconsideration. The PCMR was later entrusted with other functions as well. The Wee Chong-jin Commission had recommended that the PCMR members be chosen from distinguished individuals who did not hold any political affiliation. It also recommended that members serve for fixed terms that could be renewed. However, these recommendations were not adopted, and today the PCMR is comprised of 18 members, 5 of whom are appointed permanently and for life. I'm very disturbed, sir, that all 5 permanent members in the PCMR have been or still are cabinet ministers, including currently Senior Minister Lee Hsien Loong and the incumbent Minister for Home Affairs and Law. Of the 5, only Mr. Abdullah Tamuji and Mr. S. Dhanabalan received their permanent appointments after they left the cabinet. So the Workers' Party values the check that the PCMR could provide against inadvertently discriminatory legislation. However, most of the bills passed by Parliament are proposed by the government, and yet the bills are being sent for scrutiny by a PCMR consisting of life members of incumbent and former cabinet ministers. Is there not a conflict of interest here? I must confess to be perplexed as to why cabinet ministers need to be appointed to the PCMR. If it is the case that the PCMR would benefit from hearing from the government, the Prime Minister is already empowered to authorize any member of the cabinet to participate in PCMR meetings, albeit without a vote. Even so, it does not explain why they have to be appointed for life. Indeed, the PCMR is the only institution I'm aware of where some members serve for life. Would it thus not be far superior to keep the PCMR as a council of distinguished citizens who are non-political individuals on fixed terms, as recommended by the Wee Chong-jin Commission? Sir, we should aim to build institutions that will see Singapore through over a long period of time. Whether it or not it works today will not be indicative of whether it works tomorrow. And a system which entrenches the influence of members of former administrations until quite literally the day they die, in my opinion, is not a viable one.
I come now to the last point which Ms. Lim raised, which I understand really to be an objection to the fact that the Presidential Council for Minority Rights, the PCMR, has certain permanent members. Sir, there is value in having members who have long experience. There is value in having members who are also members of cabinet because they provide a certain perspective. There are other members, of course, who come in, and those members may change, who provide other perspectives. But what we try to do, particularly with minority rights, is to have a wide spectrum and a wide range. And it is important to remember sometimes that there are things which were, bills which were passed, legislative provisions that were made because of a certain historical context. Therefore, having people who remember that context, who remember the original situation in which a certain legislative provision was provided, or certain reasons why we did not put in legislative provisions, that is valuable and that is useful. So I can't see any objection to having the composition of the PCMR in the terms suggested by Ms. Lim.
Last of all, about the PCMR, actually what the Minister answered was already, preempted in my speech, because she said that having members with knowledge of why particular bills were passed or the legislative history would be helpful to the PCMR. But the Constitution already provides for the PM to appoint ministers to attend the PCMR meetings, to give that perspective to the PCMR members. So there's no need for ministers to be members of the PCMR for their voices to be heard. So does she not agree with me that actually the system design, if PCMR is supposed to be an independent check on legislation, having ministers on the PCMR actually doesn't look quite right?
On the PCMR, I'm not sure that PCMR is set up as a check on the legislature. It is set up as a check to ensure that minority rights are addressed or thought about. And whether you appoint or whether they are permanent members, the point is that they have something valuable to contribute. So I don't see the objection to having permanent members.